hand. 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 1. Oh, hello there. Sorry, I didn't hear you come in. Always wanted to do that on film. Hey everybody, my name's Tom. Welcome to Keyboard Skills Pro, my YouTube channel. It's a huge pleasure to have your company here today for a quick hints and tips lesson on how to play music on the keyboard or the piano using both hands, and how to get efficient at practicing and rehearsing your pieces to progress them on to a finished result. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Philip Russell. Philip's a patron of mine and he subscribes every month to my YouTube channel and helps support the production of these videos. And Philip put in a request saying, hey Tom, he said, I've got your music book Pianistic here, which I'm learning on the piano, and he said, really enjoying it, but he said, sometimes I find generally with my playing that I can learn the right hand okay and play that. I can play the left hand okay, you know what's coming. But when he said, when you put it together, it all starts to fall apart. So he's asked me, would I provide a few hints and tips? And it's going to be my pleasure, Philip, to do that for you now. And obviously, hopefully for everyone here on YouTube, will get some benefit from these things. So we've got a piece of music here called March of the Quavers. This is the first piece inside Pianistic, and Philip's been having some fun learning this. So let me just play a few bars of the opening line. Now, obviously, I've got a big advantage there in that I'm the composer, so of course I do know that piece pretty well. But I use these techniques for learning pieces myself. I use them for helping my students learn pieces. Now, the thing of practicing a piece of music is that word, the P word. When you practice a piece, is that, I don't know, people tend to get hung up on the kind of the practicalities of the piece. So the ultimate thing is that we want to produce a musical result. Okay, yes, there's combinations of hands, there's coordinations of rhythms, there's tempos, but it has to be musical. So that's the first thing you always want to aim for, is a musical performance. The second tip I'll give you is to make sure you know both hands well independently. So if I was learning my March of the Quavers, I'd order my book off my website. So that could be a new thing, couldn't it? Ordering something from yourself. So I've got my Pianistic copy, and I take a look at my score, and I say, okay, well, here we've got the first line, we've got the second line, and here, look, there's a big thick bar line, so that means I'm at the end of that first section. So I can sort of see it's in two blocks, and they're about 8 bars long each, and we've got two thick bar lines there, we've got a thick bar line there matching up to the beginning. So that way I've kind of now broken the piece into two easier chunks. So I put the music up, and I'm going to start with the right hand. So I'll just start picking it through. Now at the beginning, we might perhaps not want to worry too much about the articulation. We just play the notes. But hey, here's a little tip. When you're practicing one of the hands, make sure you observe the detail. And the detail is things like the finger numbers, the articulation, the volumes. The earlier you build those in with the note reading, the sooner those two things blend together. So for example, instead of just going, I wrote this piece actually in the style of a sort of a two-part Baroque classical kind of piece. So I'm kind of ignoring all my articulation marks. Okay, so I played the rhythm, played the notes okay, but it sounded a little bit blur. Okay, so I'm now going to really pay attention. I'm going to make sure that I follow it slowly, and I'm going to really try and get all the articulation in. And again, if we have a look at the score, look, you can see here, look, we've got slurs, we've got staccatos, we've got slur lines for smooth sounds, staccatos. So I'm going to make sure that I do that. I've got to play loud at the beginning, dropping back to a sort of medium quiet, and then a build at the end. So I'm going to try and be conscious of those details. So in other words, it's like learning your lines for a play. When you learn your lines, people learn their lines, and then of course they have to match movements, they have to think of props. Now, when people practice in a theatre, they will often hold a prop in their hand, or they'll put a hat on or a jacket of the costume, just to sort of get used to the movements and the details that are going to be added. So here we go. So I've got to go smooth, staccato, hold, and very smooth, lift. Big smooth phrase, one, rest, smooth, tap, tap, very, very smooth, up and tap, tap, hold. So by learning those notes, and we learn the detail along at the same time, okay? Same goes for the left hand, okay? So if you've got the same thing on the left hand, you do the same thing. So first things first is make sure you know both hands really well independently, really understand what each hand's job is doing. So on the left hand, look, I'm going to go 1, 2, lightly separating these, staccato, hold, hold, 1 and 2, I'm going to build. Oh, bit hard at the end there. And you can hear the volume was building at the end there. So then I'd go back to my right hand again. Die back a little bit, and do 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 do, and da 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 da, build build build. So I'm training my brain to learn the musical sentences and the detail. So that's the first thing. Get the detail slowly with each hand independently. So once you feel comfortable that you can play both hands at the same time, you can then start to bring the hands together. Now this is the bit where some people find this tricky, okay, but if you've spent the time on the left hand and the right hand, spend the same amount of time playing the hands together. But this is the important bit. The way the hands are going to lock together is with the counting. Now obviously that piece, March of the Quavers, is in 2, so it's going 1 and 2 and 1, da da. So you have to make sure that you, maybe I tend to say to students when you're practicing something, go at about 2/3 of the tempo that you're going to go. So if the piece is, say this one's at 75, drop it to say 60, 65 on the metronome. Use a metronome. People hate metronomes, but if you learn to love the metronome, it's a great thing for helping out that counting. If you can't stand the tick of a metronome, count out loud. The thing of counting is the count, the heartbeat of the music, not the timing of the music, the heartbeat of the music must be absolutely even, 1 and 2 and 1, because it's to that heartbeat, that pulse, that we are going to play our musical lines. We're going to fit our beats, our half beats, our 2 beats, our quarter beats, and that's something we have to time. If you're not counting, then the piece will lack cohesion, it will lack that structure. Once, I mean, to start with, it's almost counting a bit like a parrot, 1, 2, 1 and 2 and then once you learn the piece, you'll be relaxing into it. So for example, I'm going to start by counting in. I've got 2, 4 here, look at the beginning, so I'm going to count in 1, 2, 1 and 2 and, because of why am I counting 1 and 2? Well, it's got quavers in it, so that'll make sense. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 and 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1 E and a 2 and 1 E and a 2 and 1 and 2. Oh, made a mistake, but I played a note. 1 and 2. See, I stuttered there. I didn't carry on in time. 1 and 2. So that's the important bit. When you are playing hands together, it's really important to count. Can't emphasize that enough. Counting is the most important thing in music because it means you're listening and you're making sure everything is there. In your mind, try and form the story of the piece. I often say to pupils, learning a piece of music is a little bit like learning the lines of a play. You learn your lines. You then have to learn how those lines interact with the lines you're not speaking the ones that are going to be spoken by your fellow actors. You have to learn how to interact with sets, with details, with props. You have to learn how to move, how to sing, how to dance. And this is something I see every year. The guys who are in the pantomime, one of the 2 pantomimes that I do music directing as, it's wonderful to see the final production coming together. And in fact, as I record this video, tonight is the first night of one of the pantomimes, opening show tonight, fingers crossed. But you rehearse on your own and then you come together. So imagine your 2 hands on the keyboards. They're like 2 actors joining forces. They've both done the work and now they're coming together. So it's all about, as they say in comedy, all about timing, isn't it? When you start playing, don't start without counting in. 1, 2, 1 and ready, go. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Because by counting we can feel the halves, 1 and the quarters. Here we go, 4 in 1, 4 in 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And as you practice that and rehearse that, you will find that will start to work really well. A lot of people always say, you know, teachers, they go, practice that. You've got to practice it until you can get it right. And I say, no. Don't practice. Nobody likes practicing. I quite happily put my hand up and say, I very rarely practice, but I do play a lot, okay? So when you play that piece, you're actually practicing it. But it's not practice, it's not being told go and practice, but you play it, you rehearse it. And the most important thing of the whole thing is that at the end of it, you want to end up with something that's musical and enjoyable, not just for the people who are perhaps going to listen to it, but most importantly, for you. That you're doing it, you've chosen the reason to do it, and that is why you want to get that personal fulfillment. So just some ideas there, everybody. Hope that may have been useful to some of you, and thanks again to Philip for recommending that particular question. And if you like, Philip would like to ask me some questions, just simply visit patreon.com/keyboard skills pro, where you can get access to bonus videos, bonus content, and lots of other things as well. If you love my channel, love my content, please do consider becoming a member of my YouTube channel, and you can do that right here on YouTube by clicking the join button. It starts from £1 a month, and it's a great way of supporting all the production of all the videos. Hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.